You can apply this lens to your life the next time you feel in conflict with someone and are struggling and are finding challenge in the discomfort of that, of sitting in them being triggered with you.
Welcome to the Alive and Aligned podcast, a show dedicated to helping you live a life of truth and share your fullest gifts with the world. I'm your host, Pete Byrne, and I'm here to open your mind to new perspectives, to introduce you to some epic humans who are already out there living their deepest truth. So now just grounding in, taking a breath, letting go of anything you're still holding onto from today, and just opening up to receiving this episode now. Let's dive on in.
Welcome to this solo episode of the Alive and Aligned podcast on the topic of understanding why someone might be pissed off with you. So this episode was inspired by a recent event where basically I had an interaction with someone who seemed to actually be really pissed off at me, and we didn't have the opportunity to talk about it or why. Okay, and afterwards I walked away feeling, wow, did I do something to that person that made them so angry with me? What could I have done or said that made them feel that way? And why might they be feeling that way? And what did they think that I said? And all these voices that tend to come in when we're stuck in our heads and fearing that we've, pissed someone off. Particularly as a recovering people pleaser over here, it can be difficult and challenging to sit in the kind of seat of feeling like someone's angry with you. So this concept came to me. I just thought it was really super interesting and valuable in my process in working through this, and I thought it might share it with you and see if you can apply this lens to your life the next time you feel in conflict with someone and are struggling and are finding challenge in the discomfort of that, of sitting in them being triggered with you and you not being able to fully explain yourself. So the thing with trigger and with people being pissed off is that a lot of people don't have the tools to really fully understand if the reason they're angry is truly you, or because you're reminding them of an old situation. Like you said something that reminded them of their dad and hate their dad, so therefore they're angry at you. And what you could have done could have been really actually innocent, and you could have been very naive in that, but now they're angry with you, and you could take that at face value and say, oh, I must be a bad person. But actually, no, they're just pissed off with their dad, okay? So what we want to be able to do is, in the event that someone doesn't have the ability to discern between an old wound coming up and surfacing and a present day trigger, or present day, annoyance, then we kind of need to be able to hypothesize why that might be. And this is a really good just practice for life, to be able to feel into why might someone else be doing this, okay? And not just making it about what if it's all my fault. It's very easy to do that. It's all my fault. It's me. I did it, okay? We're going to explore that. Now, the concept that came to me in this moment when this person I believed was fucking super angry with me, they were so fucking pissed off with me, okay, was this concept of the trigger pie. So imagine like a hot apple pie straight out of the oven. It's steaming. It's fucking steaming. It's so hot, okay? And we want to cut up that pie, and we want to look at it and say, how much of this trigger pie that this person has, okay, is as a direct result of me? And we want to look at a few different scenarios. The first scenario, okay, is that 100% of this trigger pie, okay, all the slices of this pie are as a result of me. So before I opened my mouth or acted in whatever way I did, this person was meditating like the Dalai Lama, zero anger or any emotion really in their body, okay? And then after I said what I said, all of a sudden they are livid. They are so angry, okay? And it's all our fault, 100% our fault. Now, what conditions might need to be in place, okay? Assuming that you had the best intentions, you didn't just insult their granny, okay? Assuming that you said something that for you feels very normal, okay? Very routine. Something that you would just say on a daily basis and you wouldn't think much of, okay? But you said this thing or you did this thing and now they're so angry, okay? And 100% of it is all your fault, hypothetically. What would need to be happening in them to have such a disproportionate reaction to quite an innocent act or sentence that you might have said? Well, we can assume, okay, that if someone's gone on such an extreme shift, okay, that there must be some kind of deep wound that's been triggered inside of them, okay? Or maybe a really strong value misalignment. You've said something that's just so opposite to their view of the world that it just makes them livid, okay? Or you've said something like I mentioned before where you've activated an old wound, okay? And that then gets them to paint the same picture onto you. So, their brother used to tell them they were worthless, and he always used to say, la, la, la. And now you say la, 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 and now they paint their brother onto you, and you're like now receiving all this anger that actually should have been directed at the brother for the stuff that the brother did, okay? So that's this situation of 100% of the wound being from the past or a value misalignment. And the thing is, if you were acting in the best intention, okay, then there's nothing to worry about in this case. You can clearly basically just approach them and just say, look, hey, wow, I realize you're really angry, okay? What came up for you? Okay? And they can say, well, you said that, and that means you're this kind of person. And you can be like, well, actually, no, that wasn't what I meant. And if you're able to communicate your intention, it can help to fill in the blanks and the information that they have filled in with their own story, okay, based on their past life experience. So it's the lack of understanding that creates the anger and the fallout. Whereas if we both had perfect information, we would assume that both parties are acting out of best intentions. And it's only that lack of information that creates story where we say someone's a bad person, And in this, okay, in assuming that you've said something routine and there's 100% of this trigger pie is your fault, we can have empathy for that person. We can recognize we've probably brought up something pretty deep for them, and it switches out of this thing of like the anxiety of like, I said something and I hurt their feelings. It's like, no, you didn't. You just brought up something for them, and now there's an opportunity for them to look at it. What a gift. What an opportunity. And so the way one could approach that would just be to simply just be present and hold space for them, and just be there with them and say, hear them out and hear what they say and say, wow, I hear how you thought that, and actually let me explain my side of the story, and here's what happened for me. This was my intention. And then that basically melts the whole thing down. So that's the worst case scenario. 100% of the pie, Dalai Lama to raging monster, and it's all your fault. And yet it's still not the end of the world. However, most of the time, okay, the story that we can be creating in our head, or the series of stories that we might have about why this person is angry, is actually nothing to do with us, okay? In the present moment. They could have low energy, they could be stressed from work, they could have been having a fight with, their partner or parent, or, they could have hormonal issues going on, they could feel sick, they could have a headache, all these different things, reasons why people can have things in their cache and their hard drive is backed up, basically. They've got too many things running at once and the program crashes. So in this case, okay, you might say that 40% of that trigger pie is coming from you. And there was already trigger there, but your thing just kind of brought it over the edge, and now it's all been directed at you, okay? Or you might find that like, wow, this person's angry with me, but they weren't actually angry with you. Like you just added a small amount, but really it's all these other things that they're angry about or triggered about, and you're just zoning in on them being triggered after you said that one thing and making it all 100% about you, okay? So we don't want to do that. Don't be doing that now, okay? Realize that people have lots of different things, lots of tabs open, okay? Their pie is split up in many different ways, okay? And there can be different things affecting them at one time. So looking through that lens at that same situation, person is angry with me, and I'm taking 100% of the pie on saying it's all my fault, when actually life is just happening to them, okay? And what happened in that situation was exactly that. I had a conversation with this person the next day, and they were like, oh my God, I can't believe you thought that I was angry with you. No, I wasn't at all. Like one or two little things happened, but no, like I had this massive problem and this issue, and this was alive for me, and this story, and realizing that it was actually nothing to do with me. So coming back to that, like lens, is realizing that, we don't need to, even though it, from an evolutionary standpoint, it makes sense to assume the worst, we don't always have to assume the worst. We can sometimes say, maybe actually only 20% of this trigger pie is mine. Yes, they're angry. Yes, they're pissed off. But even if it's 100% of the pie is totally mine, then we'll still work through it. And more than likely, it's going to be like, 10, 20, 30% of this person's mood is as a result of what you said or did to them. So I hope that this analogy allows you to have a bit more compassion and empathy for yourself and turn off the anxious, neurotic voices in your head when you feel like someone's pissed off with you or triggered with you. And you can step away and have that peace of mind, and knowing that when you get to have that conversation eventually, hopefully, that you can communicate clearly, wow, I felt something come up in you, okay? And this is the final piece, is then how do you have that final conversation? Wow, we had that incident, and like I said this, and I noticed at that time that, I had a story that there was some anger there for you. Is that true? And they might say, yes, there was anger when you said that thing. But actually, to be honest, it was just, I had a bit busy day and there was a lot happening, and so both are true. Anger is there, but also all the other pieces of the pie. So this is something that I would say start applying to any kind of conflict, any kind of situation where you're feeling that anxiety of like, oh, this person's angry. Just say, how much of this pie is actually mine? What if it's only 10, 20%? And as soon as we have that clearing conversation afterwards, all will be good. Everything gonna be all right, man. Okay? Have an epic time applying this one to your conflicts, and hopefully it allows you to sleep a bit better at night. You!